Hey guys, what's up? It's Joe Raiti from Raiti's Rides. We are here at the Javits Center for the mighty return of the New York Auto Show. A little bit of a hiatus, but we are back, and guess what? Of course we had to stop at the Ford booth because there is a lot of excitement going on with many of their vehicles, but you know what? There's something here that's very special, actually two something specials, and they're right behind me. This is it. This is the new 2022 Ford GT Heritage Edition. This one is the Holman-Moody Heritage Edition. But before we just dive into this iconic car, let's talk about what's going on here. Ford, obviously known in the industry for making so many innovations when it comes to engineering, when it comes to performance, even safety, of course. Now, over the years, they've been involved in many different forms of racing. I think a lot of you would remember, especially because that movie Ford versus Ferrari, even people that aren't true car fans love that story of the Ford GT40 going up against the Ferraris at the coveted Le Mans. Now, 1966 was that year when just everything came perfectly into alignment, and this Heritage Edition is representing that. So let me give you a little background story. Three teams, after that terrible finish in 1965, three teams were put together: Shelby American, Holman-Moody, and Allen Man Racing. What they did is they put to work all of their know-how to develop the GT40 Mark II. Now remember, one of the crazy things about the GT40 is that it's only 40 inches off the ground, and to think that those guys were going down the Mulsanne Straight at well over 200 miles an hour just seems so incredible. Well, guess what? Ford wants to touch in on that heritage, obviously calling this the Heritage Edition, and we've already showcased from the Chicago Auto Show that Allen Man Heritage Edition. Here we are at New York with this Holman-Moody. The even crazier thing is that right next door to it is the original car that finished third. Remember that iconic finish, first, second, and third at the 66 24 Hours of Le Mans. And to kind of celebrate what the Ford GT is all about, because remember, the Ford GT, it's only going to be around for so much longer. And that really was something special, because if you go back to 2016, Ford was back at Le Mans with a Ford GT, and they wound up winning in 2016. Now, the exciting thing is that they took a car as a race car and then turned it into a street car. This is one of those cars. So let's go ahead, let's find out why this is so special, and is it now or never to jump on a Ford GT if you have that opportunity. Let's dive into this 2022 Holman-Moody Edition Heritage model of the Ford GT. Right off the bat, you notice the colors. Now, next to the original 66, not 100% identical, but that is not what Ford was going with. They actually tried the original color, and they felt that they needed to kind of tweak it a little bit. So they're calling this Holman-Moody Gold. Fits the body perfectly, the lines. You'll notice some of the other touches. Now, what this red is, this is Heritage Red. This is not a stripe kit, so don't think that these are just vinyl decals. Everything is painted onto this carbon fiber body of this Ford GT. You'll notice with the Oxford white, that bright white flows around the front of the nose, full carbon fiber. Now, of course, aerodynamics is key, and like I said, back in 2016 when they went back to Le Mans, they wanted to make sure that this car was going to be aerodynamically efficient, and it is, because this car, you get on the proper track, 216 mile per hour top speed, and that really kind of ties in with the original going over 200 miles an hour at Le Mans. All exposed carbon fiber. You'll notice that this does have, of course, that lift kit, so if you have that driveway that's at the bad angle, it will actually raise the front of the vehicle so that you're not going to damage any of this beautiful raw carbon fiber. Now, of course, aerodynamics, you're going to have those corner side air curtains channeling everything down. And if you're wondering, well, is this much different from, say, a previous generation Ford GT? Yes, because remember, the Ford GT came back in 2005. Something different than the current one. That one was powered by that supercharged V8, but this one really just took performance style engineering to a whole new level. Now, when we rise up, you'll see the Round Mondial number 5, just like the original. Love the way everything just has a super sexy flow to it. You got your heat extractors for those radiators at the front. And then another thing, of course, you're gonna get full LED lighting. And one touch I wanna talk about the LED lighting, look at the attention to detail. That Oxford white stripe actually flows into the LED daytime running lamp, and then up and over that sexy fender. Speaking of sexy, as we come around the bend, it's not just about the body, it's also about the wheels and brakes. And what's interesting is that Holman-Moody, with their NASCAR experience, really went to work on the Mark II for boosting that braking performance, because you know what? It's great to go fast in a straight line. Eventually you're gonna need to slow down, especially after that long Mulsanne straight. Now, looking at our wheel and tire package, I hope you like carbon fiber, because you are gonna get buckets and buckets of it. You have that beautiful multi-spoke carbon fiber wheel. Now, what's the point of this? It's a lighter wheel, less rotating mass, that's gonna give you quicker steering, and then behind that, we have those carbon ceramic brake rotors. Once technology that was only available on a Formula One car, here we are at a Ford production vehicle with that technology. Massive 6-piston Brembo calipers are gonna shed speed faster than a husky sheds hair. And then, like I said, you'll notice that it's in that little higher position. This will actually drop down depending on what you are trying to attack. And then, of course, you look at those Michelin tires, a French tire company, obviously connected with Le Mans, doing a lot of work with this Ford GT. Now, as we come down the side, you have that number plate, the number 5. I love the way they gave it a nice contemporary interpretation. That massive side sill, all of this is helping to give you downforce and to reduce drag. Because remember, drag is not your friend when you're trying to go for a top speed. One of my favorite design features of any Ford GT in this generation is gonna be that awesome flying buttress. Now, one thing that they did was they actually took the diamond shape from the Holman-Moody car, brought it over. Love the way it kind of accentuates this whole area as air is gonna channel through. And then, of course, those massive intercoolers, because we don't have V8 power in this Ford GT. Remember, we're talking about that EcoBoost engine, 3.5 liters of twin turbo goodness. Really surprised a lot of people, but you know what? The performance, especially over the 05, 06 Ford GT, is just second to none with this car. Now, as we slide our way back, that wonderful fender, the way it comes out, wonderful lines, those carbon fiber wheels. And then when we come to the rear, I think one of my favorite touches on the Ford GT is, of course, being able to see the hardware. You know, we talk about Ford versus Ferrari. Ferrari talks about that engine being the crown jewel of their vehicles and showing it off. Ford wants to do the same thing. So you could actually peek through that rear hatch glass and see that twin turbo V6. You'll notice the carbon fiber for all of that ventilation, because remember, heat is not your friend in any form of performance. We want to get that hot air out. Speaking of hot air, look at the way they actually hollow the rear taillights out to allow more heat to exit out of the back of the vehicle. Full LED lighting, of course. And I hope you like exhaust, because you got a titanium, a Krapovich exhaust, a brand that actually has a lot of connection with motorcycle racing, has crossed over into automobiles, and this thing makes a sound that is so unique it's gonna blow your mind. Speaking of unique, this rear wing, obviously fully adjustable. It will actually pivot up in an up position to slow you down when you're hard on the brakes, those carbon fiber brakes being clamped down with those Brembo calipers. And then as we drop down, more sexy carbon fiber goodness, full rear diffuser. This is stuff that the original could only dream of when we look at the aerodynamic efficiency of this car and everything that it does to help it perform. But you know what? Not only is it about the exterior colors and touches that connect it to the past, let's open up the door. Let's see if we can open up the door and check out the interior of this Holman-Moody Heritage Edition Ford GT. All right, guys, we got the door open. Time to check out the interior. Remember, this whole tub is carbon fiber. You could actually see the carbon fiber as you climb in. There's gonna be some special touches on the interior. If you could see the door panel, to the door panel, all the way across the number 5 Mondial, just like outside, on the interior, the Alcantara, the carbon fiber, the stitch work. Let's talk about performance, shall we? Obviously, we're looking at that 3.5 liter twin turbo V6, 647 horsepower, 550 pound-feet of torque. It's made it to a 7-speed DCT transmission, 0 to 60 in about 2.9 seconds. Quarter mile is gonna blaze by at 10.8 seconds. And like I said, a top speed of around 216 miles an hour. If you want one of these, you're looking at about $525,000. And of course, you need to get on that waiting list. Some of the other touches, the stitching is Holman-Moody Gold on the seat bolstering. And I don't know if you could notice, very subtle, they have these indentations in the seat to mimic what the original racing seat looked like and appeared like in the original 1966 third place finishing Holman-Moody race car. And of course, those magnesium paddles have a nice gold tinge to them to allow you to kind of just tie everything from outside to inside. Steering wheel has all the controls that you need. If you notice, there's no actual windshield wiper stock or anything like that. Everything is going to be addressed on that steering wheel, just like the race car. And then full digital displays. That's another thing that makes this stand out, especially when compared to the previous 2005, 2006 Ford GT. But remember, it's not just about this interior. It's not just about the exterior. It's also about that connection to the past. Let's go ahead and check out the 66 third place finishing Ford GT40. All right, guys, the whole purpose of this unveiling of the 2022 Ford GT, that Holman-Moody Heritage Edition, is this car right here. This is it. This is the 1966 third place finishing Ford GT40. This was the one that finished behind Ken Miles, of course. That Ford versus Ferrari story that really has a lot of people kind of reimagining these vehicles and dreaming about them once again, especially people that are not even car people fell in love with that movie. But if you look, the size difference, I think, is one of the biggest things that you'll notice between the two, is just how much smaller the original GT40 is, that 40 inches off the ground. You'll notice up on the roof, there's a bump there, there's a bubble. That's actually called the Gurney bubble. And the reason why is that Dan Gurney, who actually raced these cars and won the 1967 24-hour Le Mans, was well over 6 feet tall. To help him fit in the car, they actually provided him with his very own bubble, and that's why that is there. So Dan Gurney, not only, you know, the innovative engineer known with the Gurney flap, also the Gurney bubble. Now you'll notice how it's a little bit lighter pink color rather than the Heritage Red that we have on the 2022 Ford GT Heritage Edition. The reason why they did that is that at the end of the pits, as the cars are coming down the front straightaway or pit road, this pink at night would illuminate very nicely underneath the lighting that they had to let them know which car was coming down the lane. They also had a green one with a green nose as well with the white. I just love how low the car is to the ground, all for that aerodynamic efficiency. And it's crazy to think that this car, designed so many decades ago, still looks modern as can be. It's like, I'm ready to take this out and actually go down Manhattan, throughout Manhattan, and drive this thing. But you'll notice the similarities. Now, if you look at the 05-06 Ford GT, there was a lot more connection with this design, but definitely still seeing that overall shape. You'll notice the knockoff spinners on the wheels. Remember, when they would come into the pits, you would take a mallet and you would actually knock off that spinner to get the wheel off and then put the spinner back on, hence the name knockoffs. Those Goodyear tires. So tire technology is probably one of the biggest things that we don't give enough credit to when it comes to performance of modern day vehicles. It's crazy to think that those tires going over 200 miles an hour down the Mulsanne Straight. You'll notice the Ford badging, like I said, that same number plate, number 5. And then if another thing that's a little bit different than the one that we have is the driver actually sits on the right-hand side. So this is right-hand drive, but the shifters actually shift with your right hand, not with your left. That's gonna help with driver changes, especially when they would come into the pits, but just all the switch gear and the way that the car is constructed. You'll notice the marker lights built into the door to obviously identify the car at night, the way that all the venting for that massive naturally aspirated V8 engine. You got the reverse opening clamshell, you got all of the venting for the brakes, all of the transmission coil, and then coming to the rear is probably where you're gonna see that connection to the past with the round taillights and then the exhaust in the center. That was one of those touches where they wanted to make that connection between the two. But what a piece of history sitting here next to the new one. And then obviously something like this is just really priceless when it looks at price point compared to the new Ford GT. But here we are at the New York Auto Show. Lots of excitement that's happening, both new and old, from the past, making that connection. I think Ford is doing one heck of a job, really hitting that nerve with their past traditions, but also showing us where the heck they're going to be going in the future. But let me know what you think about this Ford GT. Is this one of your ultimate dream cars that you wish you had the opportunity to be one of those selected few to get the opportunity to buy one of these? Put it down in the comment section. But I want to thank the whole Ford team for allowing us a little bit of private time with these two iconic vehicles. If you want to keep seeing stuff like this, put that in the comment section. But if you're new to the channel and you're on your way out, hit that subscribe button. I promise you it's worthwhile. Come back for more. If you are a subscriber, thank you for being part of the Raity's Rise family. If you want to help us keep making great content just for you, click that link in the description. Get yourself some Raity's Rise merch. Got to give it up to Lori working that camera like a champ here at the Javits Center. Thank you, Lori, for being a rock star. And just like always, guys, I'll see you on the next ride.